How to do makeup on mature skin. A lot of people can think that there is it's this insane process, but really it's the same as how you would do any client's makeup, with just a couple of provisions around the eyes and around the mouth, and a few little tweaks and tricks that I'm gonna show you right now. Here is a basic setup for a mature makeup, which can be for really anyone. We have our primer, moisturizer, we have our eyeshadow primer, illuminator, we have an eye cream, we have our contour, we have foundation colors, we have our concealer color corrector, our blush, and our concealer. Here is a palette of eyeshadows with an array of textures from glitter to matte. We have a powder blush, my contour palette, an array of brushes from our angle fluff powder brush, a synthetic fluff, a buffer brush, our concealer, a small compact buffer foundation brush, our spoolie brush, an angled flat brush, a small blending brush, a small lip brush, a small fluff, and a small fluff eyeshadow brush in a synthetic material. We have our sponges, an eyeliner, we have our clear brow finisher, but you can also use it on the lips. We have 2 brow pencils, we have our lip liner, we have a brow gel, we have a moisture spray, which is gonna help us get a very dewy finish. We have our makeup setting spray, our toner, a lip color, our eyelash curler. I have an eye mask and our brow colors. Okay, so we start by cleansing the skin. And this is our client Caroline. She doesn't need any exfoliation. She has great texture to her skin. Just a little bit of cleaning off the day. And then I move in with my toner, close your eyes, which is just rose water. And I immediately move in with my moisturizer. And I'm gonna grab a foundation brush. And this is super hydrating. It's an anti-wrinkle. There's a lot of nourishing vitamins in. And I use that kind of moisturizer with most skin types because it's supple and it gives the skin some good skin food. So just put it on. And a little primer, and this is our illuminating primer, just to give us a little bit more radiance. I focus down the T-zone because that's the area where there's most oil production. Just smooth it out. It's gonna help the makeup last. And what I like to do is curl my lashes right away. Close your eyes. And the trick to curling eyelashes is, of course, to not pinch your client. That's number 1. But to move the sides away before you pinch so that you know that these haven't grabbed any of the skin. And you'll know if you've grabbed skin when your client starts to yell. I like to use eye patches on a lot of my clients because it's very luxurious and they're so hydrating, and it's just another great way to pamper your client. I'll just put some more primer on underneath it later, but right now, it's just for fun. And of course, it's super hydrating. And when I put the makeup on her eyes, anything that falls will fall onto these eye patches. Thank you. Yeah. And it just gives that pampering little extra step. And it's especially great when you charge your clients very well and they feel like they're getting that extra oomph, that extra bang for their buck. Even though you can probably find these at the dollar store. I move in with my eyeshadow primer. Close your eyes. Now, Caroline has great eyelids. Some mature skin, the eyelids can be very crepey and thin. So using a shimmer eyeshadow, unless that's their style and that's what they want, you want to kind of avoid a lot of shimmer and a lot of glitter. For, let's say Caroline is going to the opera tonight. She wants to look specifically gorgeous. It's her anniversary, things of that nature. Depends on where they're going and what they're into. So nothing has to be age specific. But if you're trying to, which most clients want to look healthy, supple, and youthful, these would be the tricks that you would go for. So just a little bit of eyeshadow primer. And then I'm going to take like a matte brown onto the eyelid. And pack. And when the skin is textured, it's great to pat on. When you're wiping, you can move the skin and it can create demarcation lines. So sometimes even when I do my own makeup, I could see lines where it looks like no eyeshadow has been applied. And I'm just blending it up. And keeping this area, this will be my lightest tone. So I'm patting and watching that skin. If it starts to move, just get in there and blend it up. Open. Very simple. It's natural. It's not too harsh. Look up. Just the eyelids. Perfect. And you can be liberal, you can make a mess, because any minute now I'm going to take these off and all of the moisture from the eye patches are going to help me to take off the makeup. I'm also using this type of taupey color because she does have some red in the under eye area and I want to neutralize that. I don't want to enhance that redness, I want to tone it back just a bit and use it to our advantage. Now I'm going to take my blending brush and use a darker color. Here's where you can use, especially if your client is like Caroline and she has really supple, for lack of a better word, plump orbital bone area. So this skin that's coming over is not crepey. I can use shimmers. I can have a little bit more fun with it. So I'm going to go in with this very soft, light reflecting taupe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her keep her eyes open. A lot of times you would have the eyes be closed, but because she has this layer of skin that covers the crease, if I were to have her close her eyes, so go close her eyes, and start putting the makeup in the crease, open, where did that makeup go? It went nowhere. So I'm going to have her keep her eyes open, and I'm just going to start putting the makeup on the orbital bone, so right there, as opposed to in the crease. I'll move it into the crease to blend it all together, but I'm going to focus on this part of the eye and keep it a little bit lower. See how I can manipulate her face to get to the areas that I want to get to. And I'm going to keep this side, keep the makeup towards the edges of the eyes as opposed to up here, because she doesn't have so much space between the crease and the highlight area. So the focus of the makeup will be at the edges of the eyes. And that technique you would use with Asian eyes, monolids, hooded eyes, anything where the crease is not readily available when we look at our clients straight on. Look up. So I'm building the intensity. I'm starting light and I'm building the intensity. And I can just keep going in and making it as dark as I want to in the process. But I feel like there's a lot of good color on here already, and I don't want to use this brush anymore. There's too much color on it. And at the outskirts of the eyeshadow, I'm going to blend it out and blend it up. See how I'm even moving into the highlight area to get that color to just be omnipresent. And now I want more color. So I'll put a little bit more at the edges and then just keep moving it around because I want to see this color lift with the intensity being towards the crease and the edges of the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side. Thank you. So lifting that eyeball, the orbital bone. And right now, I'm kind of making a little bit of a mess. I'm not really trying to create the shape yet. A little bit with the emphasis at the edge, but how you're going to get it is by moving the color around. And I like to put all the color everywhere, but the most intense parts here, but I want all the same tones represented throughout the eye, just slightly. And as I go along, I'll usually take a mirror. Let's say I feel like I'm at a good place with the eyeshadow, and then I'll take my mirror and I'll hand it to my client and I'll say, how do we feel about this? Is it too light? Is it too dark? So that she can assess for herself what she's comfortable with. Because I might think she looks like a star and she might feel like she's just way too overdone for her taste. Or I may feel like she's looking perfect and she's like, where's my makeup? Like, give me some contour, give me some eyeshadow. So it's all about what they want. See how I'm blending it into the bottom of the eyebrow, but really keeping this intensity right here. And I can just keep going in and in and in until it's built to the point of no return. Or if I wanted to get super dramatic, I'll wait until I go in with my eyeliner, which is what I'm gonna do. So I have my pencil. And again, I'm going to just apply the color. I'm not trying to do anything fancy. I'm not creating a cat eye. I'm not trying to make a dramatic shape. I just want to apply the color and I'm going to smudge it out. And Caroline has a very hydrated eyelids. They're super oily. So makeup for her and the fact that she has that layer of skin that slightly hangs over her crease, it would be easy for her makeup to smudge. So I'm going to go ahead and smudge it for her the way I want it. And it should stay that way because after I use this eyeliner, I'm going to go back with a powder and set it. So now, look at the camera. You could see that I'm starting to build this. I don't want to take up too much space in her eyelid though. I want to keep this area as open as possible so that that eyelid is coming out from under that layer of skin, but still giving her some drama. So again, keeping the intensity at the edges of the eye. But already you can see how fierce that's looking. And so this looks great to me, but of course I want to take it and make it more intense. I'm going to keep building underneath the color that I've spread. So it's almost like I've laid out a sheet of dough that's one color, and then I'm going to put another layer of dough, and I'm going to spread it out just at the edges of the previous color. So that's how I get my graduation without it being too liney. Like you're not going to see the line. You're just going to see this great from dark to light process. And same on the bottom, so look up. And I always imagine that I'm not even touching her with this pencil, that her skin is a magnet and it is drawing the color from the pencil to itself. I'm not even pressing, I'm just applying color. And then I'm gonna come back and manipulate it with my brush. Now I'm gonna move in with my brow color, but I'm gonna use it as an eyeshadow because it's matte, it's intense. And it's very interesting that all these colors, they have this same yellow base with the brown, but there's some soft purple tones to it. And you can see how just it's reflecting with her shirt. And I'm just gonna keep moving it around and use different brushes, my fluff brush, a blending brush. I like fluff brushes better than blending brushes because it's a little more packed, the brush. And it allows me to move my color faster as opposed to wistfully moving it around. I don't have time for that. I want to move that color fast. So turn back this way. If you want to, you can go into the rim of the eye and get it dark with the brown under the waterline. I'm going to skip that for the moment and just see where I'm going with it. Close your eyes. So again, just applying the color. Look, I'm making a mess. It's not even, there's no flawlessness about that. And if you were to just walk in the room, you would think, what is that girl doing? But now you can see the method to my madness as I blend it. And again, smudged eyeliner is one of the fastest ways to apply eyeliner because you're making a controlled mess. When you have a perfect cat eye with that pinup liner, it has to be so precise and very even to the other side, and making it look perfect can be a challenge. So this is great for the beginning makeup artist. And now I'm going in with that considerably darker brown, that matte brown from my brow kit, and just kind of punching into the edges. Again, taking my fluff brush. And it doesn't matter what a mess I'm making underneath. Now, even when I show my client the eyeshadow at this point, though she looks like, open your eyes, look up. Even though she looks like I've given her a really beautiful black eye, she can understand what's happening. And I'd never get afraid, like, oh, but it's to this or it's to that. Yeah, we know, we know. Look at me. Yeah, this is fun. So I can already tell this has more intensity on this end of the eye as opposed to this end of the eye. And then when I ask Caroline to look in the mirror and see her makeup, if she tells me that she sees more intensity and it's uneven, then that's great. I want her to be able to see what's wrong so she can advise me in maybe something that I don't see. Now I'm going to take this very brickish terracotta matte just to put it at the very edge. So I'm using the teeniest, tiniest tip of this brush to add a little bit of warmth. Then I'm going to take my fluff brush. It's so minuscule, but it helps me to transition from the dark to the light with a little pop of color. And no one would even notice this. No one would even pay attention to this, but it's so important to giving the face some type of shape and some type of dimension. So I'm going to take a moment away from the eyes because sometimes you could just spend way too much time and then lose what you were originally trying to go for. Back to the camera. Look up. There, that's what was missing. A good old dose of eyeliner. So it's always great to just have them open their eyes while they're doing the makeup, closing their eyes, looking down, looking up, and paying attention to how that makeup is going to wear throughout their night. They're not going to see it. They're not going to know how they look while they're looking off to the left, but you're going to see it, and you're going to make sure that they look great so that no one else could accidentally see any flaws as much as you can help it. Not while you're around. Okay, so I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna take her eye patches off. Oh, that's cute. I'm going to go in with either a cotton swab or, actually, that would behoove me, a cotton swab or the moisture that I've used from my eye patch. So now all the colors that I used, all the eyeshadow is still there, the smudged eyeliner is still there, but in a very concise way under those eyes. And I have a tendency to make my clients look too rock and roll, and all my clients will tell me to make it closer to the eye. I just love it. I love seeing that smudgy rock and roll look, but it's not about me and what I like, it's about what my client likes. So now I'm gonna take a break. It doesn't mean I'm done with the eyes, it means I'm done with the eyes for now because I just need to move on. I need to move on down the road. Here's where I'll start applying my foundations. And I gave myself a little palette of colors that I thought would go with her skin tone. So I have plenty of options to work with. I'm just gonna take a little bit more of my primer and reset it up. When you put that moisturizer on, it just plumps up any of these areas. And that eye patch, just that little kick of moisture. And I'm just gonna set it like a light wash of powder just to really get it there. Okay, so I'm going on the jawline. And I'm a master of matching foundation because that looks amazing. And I'm going to go down the center of the face first. In the same way that I would do the contour and highlighting process. Just checking any redness, getting it the brunt of that color onto the redness. And moving it up and out. A little bit onto the under eyes, just to give us a little base. Very thin layer, because I'm going to be putting a lot more product on there. Then I'll take my Beauty Blender with some rose water. I normally would not spray that close to their face, but for the camera purposes. And I'm gonna start blending away. And giving her a very natural finish. And I'm not gonna blend it too much because I'm gonna be coming back in with all of my contour and more highlighting and more fun stuff. I'm gonna go in. Here is her cheekbone right here. You could feel that coming out. I bring it slightly down this way. And for her jawline, we wanted to just give it a little bit more of a chiseled look, a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Other side. So you can see pushing the face in, bringing that chin up a little bit, and her forehead is pretty great, but just kind of slimming down this area just to bring it all in balance. And then just some on the top, so that when we blend it all together, all of the tones are represented. Just a slight contour in the top of the nose. And now going in with some highlight and concealer. Just a little bit. Oh, still some on my brush. It's okay. I'm gonna get some of that off with my finger because all of this is gonna be blended together anyways and I'm going to be doing some concealer. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my buffer, and I'm going to start buffing. And this is why I like cream foundations for all skin types. It just moves. It moves and it blends and it helps to create just a mimicking of skin. Blending, blending, blending. And the other side. So with blonde hair, with silver hair, you have to be so careful when blending off into the hairline, because then you're going to give them some discoloration, and we don't want that. I can already see like I did not apply enough creams down on the sides, so just applying some more cream in her foundation color so that I have something more to mix with. But keeping that intensity underneath the cheekbones, keeping it the darkest here, but I don't want to see this line. I want to see it all blended, but the darkest point being here, so that there's still a contour, but there's not a seeing of the makeup. And that this is still lighter, but I don't see that highlight. And again, blending it in to the chin. Turn. Same. And once I feel like I've got a good concentrated blending and it's blended out enough into a wide enough area, I'm going to go in with my buffing foundation brush, because I could be there forever with that guy. And just really getting in here, into the neck. I'm heavy-handed, and I definitely need to pay attention to my client's face if they're like wincing and paying attention if I'm going too hard or too fast, because sometimes I can just really be into the art and completely forget that I'm working on a person. So be mindful of your client and how you're moving. And then going in, I can look back and I can see if there's still any redness. And I just keep working until I feel that everything is absolutely pristine. And taking a little bit more highlight down the middle. And using a small, just a tiny, to get that color up in there, to get that shadow. Again, on the other side. Getting that color right in there, bringing it down and into the brow bone. So I'm pushing that brow bone up by putting that contour there, ever so slightly. And creams, again, look at just how supple it mimics skin. And now I'll go in with the concealer. So Caroline has just a slight bit of under eye discoloration, but in brown. Hers are not blue like some people's under eye circles. So I'm going to put a yellow-based color corrector into this area. You can already see that brown being neutralized and all of that color just going away. But now we have a bit of a yellow tone, and this corrector is considerably bright. But it's really fun to look at it. Just take off all that brown. So I'm going to go in with her natural concealer color. And just go right over it. to neutralize the brightness and the whiteness of that yellow. And I'm being pretty liberal. And going in with my finger, again, anytime you're gonna touch the face, check, wipe it on your palm until it's a bad habit. Until every time you even go to move your hand, you automatically wipe it on your palm. Look up, and I'm doing like a rolling movement. I'm not wiping. I don't wanna blend the concealer, now I'm patting, with the corrector underneath. I want this to just dissipate. But being very mindful of how thick this concealer is. I don't want to see it, and I don't want it to get into the creases. So as soon as I'm feeling comfortable with my concealer, I'm going to go in with a light waft of translucent powder. Look up. And this is actually still a little too bright for my liking. See, I had eyeshadow on there, and now I just messed up all of my amazing work. It's okay, blend it out, and move in with a little bit more concealer. Look up. And now I'm gonna just punch in that setting makeup before I move on. Because as soon as you move away and that makeup is allowed to sit for even a second without being set, look up, it'll crease. And if you go and set it over the makeup that's creased, you'll set it in that way and it'll freeze in that crease. And blending it out will be a chore. Now I'm going to set all of this. Actually, before I move on, a cute little trick. If there's any puffiness or demarcation of any kind, you can just go right into the depression itself and so lightly put your concealer or even a lighter tone. Just a little bit to help bring the depression onto an even plane. Now we're going to go in. I'm just going to grab my Angle Fluff with my contour palette, and I'm going to go for the lightest tone. I'm going to tap my brush, and I'm going to start to pat. But I'm not just patting like this, I'm patting in an upward motion so that this makeup is being blended as I'm putting it on. Getting into that cheek. This is a contour tone. Building that intensity without creating that line. Again, some people like the line. It's a style, it's a trend. And if your client wants it, by all means, don't argue with her. Give the lady what she wants. So anywhere I put the cream, I'm going to put the powder to set. But I'm also going to be putting that same dark powder in the highlight spots. Because just be mindful of any creasing, blend it out before you set it with powder. Because I want to have the same colors, and I know I repeat myself on this, but it's so important. The same colors distributed throughout the entire face, but with the intensity being on the focal points, but still being omnipresent. Now I'm going to move in with a little bit of bronzer. And here's where I tell my client we're in the 9th inning of the process, and I put it slightly above where I put the contour, beginning to bring that cheekbone out with color. Pulling it more towards the center of the face on the forehead. To the chin. And now that all the most of the color has been put exactly where I want it, I can start moving it around to the rest of the face so that I can just get a light veil of those tones everywhere. Now I'll move on to my cream blush. And you're gonna notice I'm using a tiny little concealer brush to do it. Because these colors are so concentrated. I just need a little bit and I can start building that apple of that cheek. And you might have heard me say, I don't ask anyone to smile because they're gonna smile, it's gonna go up, I'm gonna put it there, and then they're gonna stop smiling and the blush is down here, making the cheek move down here. I want the cheek to move up here. Round and colorful and full of life. And blending it out. Thanks. So even that is a lot of color that I've just placed on. And when you go to spread it, it'll be so spreadable, you only want to keep it into a confined area. So less is more. But I'm putting it everywhere. Again, because I want the color to be displayed on all parts of the face. If the sun were hitting you, it's going to hit you here first, but it's still hitting every other part of the face as well, changing the tone. You won't just have blush here, you won't just have the bronze of the sun right here, it'll be everywhere, but just more so in the higher points of the face. And that's what we're trying to mimic. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to set this right now with a setting powder. So just right into the nage, or the nose. And I like to use a powder puff more than a blush brush or a powder brush. Especially using the sponge that's a little wet, because then it gives a stronger adherence. And note that I'm not going everywhere. I want to keep this place highlighted and bright and light reflective because that's youthful. It's a sign of just healthy glow. But I don't want to see it everywhere because that could also be misconstrued for oily and greasy, and that's something we want to avoid. And I also like to use a wet sponge because I want to keep mimicking that look of skin. I want to keep it looking a little moist, a little glistened. Look up. And then back in the eyes, because I can already see the suppleness of her oil production coming out, even though we've already set that area. But that's great. You get a chance to see how the makeup is setting on your client. And you can remedy it right there before they get up, before they go home. You can fix any mistakes that you see right away. And now I can move in with my shimmery tones. Just in the highlight, on the brow, on the cheekbone, just a little bit. In the tear duct. Just a little slightly. Okay, let's do some eyebrows. Brush these babies down. I'm using a ash brown, and I want to just look at it first. Okay, this is great. It's ashy, it's not red, and we don't want to add red to your eyebrows because your natural eyebrows don't have that. So Caroline's eyebrows, they could be in a little further towards the nose, right above the tear duct. And then I want them to start, so this one kind of goes this way, this one goes a little bit more down, and I'm gonna try to make them look as similar as possible. But like I always say, they are sisters, not twins. Or they're fraternal, not identical. And I'm carrying on, so it's a little thicker in this area and a little thinner. I'm going to bring this one a little thicker, but still going at an angle so that the brow, the top part of the brow is up here, the bottom part is down here. Giving a little more oomph to that tail. And I'm not drawing lines, I'm sketching in here. And I'm gonna blend it in. And I'm gonna brush her hair down, kind of doing like a little comb over onto that part of the brow that was just a little bit thinner than the front part. Brushing it down and then brushing it off to the side, taking a light brow gel, because I want this to stay. Brushing down and then sweeping it all over to this side. Oh my God. I get really excited. So same here, just a little bit in the edges. And I'm just sketching that color. And you could be a little bit liberal with how hard you're pressing because you have to get in between those hairs. So I brush up, blend the color up, brush it down, move that hair over to the side. And I take a bit of a step back. Sometimes I'll even have them look at whatever mirror we're working with so that I can see from far away. Because I've been standing so close to her face, I can lose perspective really easy. You always want to stop. Like a painter, you see them, they put the thumb in front of the painting. It's very similar to that. So they could take a step back and see how it's all working together. If this is all matching, if everything is harmonious and adhering to the principles of design. So more in the front. This eyebrow is a little bit shorter, so we have to just be really careful. And then immediately going and setting it with our brow powder. And I'm using that same tone that I used in the eyeshadow. And just popping that color on. I'm not wiping it because the natural oils in the skin could move the eyebrow pencil that we just put on. So I pat. And using the pencil first helps us to, it's almost like a brow primer in a sense. Okay, and then we'll do some mascara. And oh, let's do the lip first. Let's do the lip. So just a little bit of lip primer. Just to set it up a little bit. And I like to use any brush that's in my presence, but something bigger than a lip brush because I don't have time. I want to just put a wash, a veil. I want the application of the lip primer to be thin so that when I go to put the makeup on it, it doesn't mix in with the primer. I'm using a Dusty Rose, and I'm trying to match up the Cupid's bows. And everyone's lip kind of is the universe's own interpretation of a lip. And it's our job as makeup artists to kind of take that inspiration and bring it all together. So I'm getting in, I'm just lining it in a very soft, sketching way. If I sat there like I did on my own self and tried to draw that line and then I make a mistake, it's just gonna save you time to just slightly sketch so that you can really see the shape as you're going. And I bring it up a little bit in these areas, so then I have that lip coming out at me. I'm gonna take my lipstick, which always make sure to wipe it off with an alcohol wipe, with a makeup wipe, and shave it. Shaving is the process where I'm just gonna wipe it onto a surface to get that top layer off. And I do that in front of each and every client so that they know that I'm taking special precautions for their safety and not wanting to get any germs from anyone else on them. So I'm gonna blend this all together with a brush because right now it's looking out of date. But I still enjoy those colors that I'm using. So go ahead and face the camera. So just blending it out, and I used a very thick cream lipstick, not a loosey-goosey glossy one, which is the professional term, loosey-goosey glossy. And moving the lip liner closer, but not covering the lip. I still want this to be lighter and brighter. And now, before I get my mascara, I'm gonna take some more illuminator. Just put it there at the edges. What I like to do to put mascara on is put my thumb very deep into the lash line and just pull up slightly. That way, all the makeup is gonna go on me and not on my client. If the client wanted false eyelashes, then I would have done that. Just very quick. And now look off to right here, perfect. And I always like to end with the mascara. So just in case anything gets down on the bottom, I could wipe it off and I just don't have to have a mess or an accident during the process of the makeup. So as we saw in doing Caroline's makeup, there's just a few little provisions that you need to take when doing mature skin. Just minding the fine lines and any deep wrinkles, setting all of your creams as soon as you've applied them, making sure that you're manipulating the skin in a way that keeps it smooth and there's no demarcations. Just a couple of little tweaks and tricks that you would need to keep in mind.